part of that conversation was he wanted to talk to me about calling him a shitty person because I did. Says you real live plotted on this and you didn't even have to. I looked at him after she said this because I'm like, my beef ain't even with her for real. It's with you, bro. Like you would have never wanted me to do this to you. And I was just thinking like, I'm going to go back to San Diego. I was just thinking like, I'm going to go back to California alone. I understood that I was not, maybe the way that I trusted him was maybe a way that I shouldn't have trusted him. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my very first, I don't know, post ever, story time ever. My name is TC, and I am your girlfriend, not girlfriend, and the most honest F buddy you've never had. So, for this first episode, I feel like it's going to be most helpful for me to do this story time and tell you how my most recent friends with benefits situation fell apart. Let's get into it. Okay, so how I met this person, we'll call him Tyler. Uh, Me and Tyler met, and fairly soon we connected and felt like, I mean, we didn't really like say we'd enter into a friends with benefits situation, but that's naturally what we enter into. And that was about 3.5 years ago. Now, during that time when we first started, I was not really enjoying my home situation. I was living with a person whom I was not very happy with. It was a friend of a friend, and he just didn't like strong females. So we kind of headbutted often, and it was just an environment that I didn't want to be in. So soon after me and Tyler started our friends with benefits situation, him not knowing my home situation, he just offered. He was like, he started with the, you don't have to leave every night if you don't want to. And initially I was like, okay, thanks. But I was going home because I didn't want to create any type of like attachment by spending the night, especially since we didn't know each other too much when he like offered me to spend the night. But eventually, not wanting to be home and like not wanting to be in any argument that I didn't feel like being in, I started spending the night. And very soon after me spending the night, his house became like my safe haven. So I just wasn't coming home very often. I would just come home, grab more clothes, and go back to his place. Also, I didn't mention this. I live in California now, but I'm not from California. I am from Southern Maryland, DC area, and that means that all my friends, all my family, and everything is back in the DMV and not here in San Diego. I was kind of here alone. So when he offered me to like stay the night and we started chilling, he became my best friend, my like sounding board, my source of, how do I want to say, because he's a little bit older than me, and the gap is not huge. I think he's like maybe 3 years older than me, but he's been lifing for longer than I have. I just started lifing, if you will, when I got to California and had no friends and no family. So he was also where I went to get advice. He became my whole family in California. In addition to becoming my whole family in California, his family and friends also became my family and friends. So I would go over his house for Easter, for Thanksgiving. I made sure I went back to the DMV for Christmas always, but for those two holidays, I always spent it with his family. Like, I think even the first year we met, because we met a little bit before the holiday season, that was the case. So for like my entire 3.5 years in California, I was spending it with his family, doing events with his friends. Basically, he was my whole California. Now, mind you, I was still very, when I started our situation, I was very clear about the fact that I only wanted friends with benefits. I did not want anything further because the career path I'm chasing, I just didn't want to bring anyone else along that treacherous road I had ahead of me. So I was very clear about that. And I knew that I was going to be able to stay there because I had done it prior. I had a friends with benefits situation for like 7.5 years. So I knew that I was able to kind of stay in that space. And it's not to say, things couldn't change, but I was just very certain they wouldn't change drastically for me. So if I did want to make an adjustment, he'd be able to slowly kind of move into that if he wanted to. And I would let him know far ahead of time. But I was kind of certain that I just wanted friends with benefits. That's all I wanted. And he agreed. He agreed. He was like, yeah, that's cool. Like, I'm not looking for anything serious either. I'm just kind of, having my fun and like, cool. We're both cool. That was day one. And I would do small check ins, like, as I felt things kind of moving forward and progressing. I would do small check ins just to make sure we were still on the same page. As I started spending more time with him and spending time with his family and spending time around his friends, I was having a great time. Like, we even started traveling together. We went out of the country together. So I was kind of the push for him to get his passport because I like to travel all over the world and I travel for my birthday. So, well, I've traveled for more than my birthday, but I definitely always go somewhere on my birthday. And I kind of instill that in him like, hey, you should go somewhere for your birthday. Don't stay in the States. You know what the States looks like. So we started traveling together and stuff like that. For all intents and purposes, it looked like a, let's say, secret relationship, right? But that wasn't what it was, and that wasn't what I wanted. Now, what started to happen, which I did not know of, to be 100% honest, he started to want more, and I was not there. Not to say that I didn't care about him, right? So let's make that clear. I cared about him a great deal. Like, he was my best friend. He really was. And I did grow to love him, right? Not be in love with him, but love him. I care for him deeply, just like I care for my friends. But the space that he moved into, maybe because he's a little bit older and he was more open to, even though he didn't tell me, he was more open to like a relationship and something like that. I was not, so I didn't see it. I just thought we were having a great time. Fast forward 3.5 years later, Christmas. Now that's my favorite holiday, right? So I've always told like the universe or whatever you believe in, but for me it's the universe. Like, please just don't let anything crazy happen on Christmas. Don't let it ruin my favorite holiday, right? This was just this past Christmas, so 2024 Christmas. He has a friend. She's been his friend for, I want to say, 16 years or something like that. Now, she was in a marriage, and him and her were only friends because she was married to his friend. Now, I didn't particularly like that friend that much. Not her, but him, her ex-husband. But, whatever. That's his friends. I just kind of steer clear of that. But anyway, they ended up getting a divorce in 2024. After that, she started kicking it with me and Tyler quite a bit because she's out of her marriage and, she's like new life, new her. So that was cool. And then she says, let's have a slumber party and let's just get blackout drunk. Right. So I told him, I was like, she doesn't want to have a slumber party. Like, she's trying to just don't bust quick because she might not give you a second chance, right? So I'm cool. Like, I'm like, this is what's going on. He's like, no, no, no. Like, we've been friends all this time. We never went there, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no grown woman is going to ask you to have a slumber party. And she doesn't love Christmas the way that I do. I absolutely love Christmas, the music, the atmosphere, all of that decorating. That's not her. So I was like, I'm letting you know now. She's trying to. He was like, yeah, whatever, da da da. So this is Christmas Eve. Like, they have their slumber party going into Christmas. Now he messages me at like 3 in the morning or something. And he was like, yeah, I don't think this is going anywhere. And then he messaged me at a time where I was asleep and I read them when I woke up. So he went from, there was one message like, I don't think anything's going to happen. And then there was another message where it was kind of ambiguous whether things happened or didn't happen. So I FaceTimed him, right? Because I wanted to know the tea. So then I FaceTimed him and he answered the phone, like with the camera tilted a weird way. And he was laying on my side of the bed, like the side of the bed that I normally lay on. I was like, why are you laying there? And why are you tilting the camera? Like, why are you being weird? So he's like smiling kind of weird. And then he tilts the camera up. And she is laid in the bed next to him. And I'm like, hey, whatever, like casual. And she didn't speak. She just kind of waved and then like evaded eye contact, kind of oddly. So I found that to be kind of weird. Now, mind you, the day before, which is Christmas Eve, she was all like, "Hey Nish, like, we love you. Got you a Christmas gift, blah blah blah." Like really talkative. Things were like really cool. And then the next morning, she's like not speaking. So I was like, "Hmm, that's kind of odd." So he was like, we're pretty tired or whatever. Like, I'll chat with you later." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." So I left it at that. But then Christmas Day, he was not really chatting with me. It was really odd. And normally we're chatting like the day before and even Christmas Eve before their little slumber party. We were chatting quite a bit, like we do. Like we chat all the time, all day, FaceTime, whatever. Like we were doing that. So Christmas Day, there was like not much of that at all. He was being pretty weird. And so I called it out. I was like, why are you being weird? Like, why are you acting so freaking weird? Long story short, on that end, there was a lot of arguing during my last 2 weeks being home in Maryland or being home in the DMV and him being here in California because apparently this is like literally the day after Christmas. He was like, um, well, things between me and her kind of progressed really fast, and like long story short, we're in love with each other and we are going to give our relationship a go. And I was like, wait, what are you talking about? You talking about at one time after y'all like, yeah, y'all are in love and y'all gonna start a relationship? Okay. I guess. I don't think it's a good idea. I think that you guys should progress into a relationship if that's what you guys want to do, but kind of like moving that quickly into a relationship and putting that kind of pressure on yourselves. And she just got out of a divorce with your friend. I think you should chill out. But no, whatever. They moved into their whole situation. There's a lot of nuance that I'm not like speaking on here, but bottom line is I was not cool with it because I felt very betrayed by both of them. More so him than her because even though she was like, "Oh, I love you, Nish," and all this other kind of stuff when we went on our trips and seemed to be very caring, she held no type of allegiance to me. So I didn't really care too much about her and how she behaved, but it was more so him. I was like, there was a way to do this in a more smooth, kind of considerate way than what you're doing right now. And I also got frustrated because he was not super jealous, but he was, if I hung out with someone else or was involved with someone else, he would throw shade. I should say that. He would throw shade, right? And I didn't act like I didn't understand why. I was very considerate of, why he would have those feelings. And we would just sit down, have a talk, just talk about what we were, what I was interested in, what we were both okay with. And if there were any particular rules that he felt, like I may have broken or something like that. And then we chat about that and just come to a nice middle ground about like where I'm at and what I'm doing. So I was very considerate of his feelings in that regard. And I would never like just go off and do my own thing. I understood that even though we were in a friends with benefits situation, his emotions and things like that, because I care about him, they do matter, right? So I was very considerate of that. And I felt like that consideration was not given as soon as he had his opportunity at, I guess, what he wanted, right? Because there was a point in one of our conversations, one of our like arguments when I was away in the DMV for my Christmas break and he was here, he was like, "I've been wanting this for so long and blah, 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 blah." I was like, I probably said it out loud, but definitely in my head, I was like, cool, like you can have it, but you didn't need to do it like this. Like, you would never have wanted me to do this to you. I had to say that 4 times, like in 4 different conversations for him to actually admit to that. Like, admit to the fact that if I just got up one day and decided like, "Hey, I'm done with this. I met this cool person and I feel like he's like cooler to hang out with. So, I'm going to go this way and do this thing and, good luck." So, I was really going through it. I was really going through it because when I was home in Maryland, I also was thinking about like I was going through all the grieving and stuff like that, and then I was also very far away, like, my things were still at his house, um, and I was just thinking, like, "I'm gonna go back to San Diego." I was just thinking, like, "I'm gonna go back to California alone," because all of my friends outside of, like, the film industry and stuff like that, like, what I do, all of, like, casual people, his family, like, all of the family things that I did, the friend things that I did outside of, like, networking and stuff like that, were all through him. So I was like, "I'm going back to no regular friends, no, like, just hanging out, um, and no best friend." Like, I'm losing all of that, right? So it was, like, this very alone feeling. That I was dreading. I mean, I wasn't dreading getting back to it. I was dreading that being the case, right? And during those, like, arguments that we would have while I was in Maryland, he was like, "You're not gonna be alone, like, I'm not gonna leave you alone, like, we're still gonna be friends, blah, 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 blah." And I knew because of the type of person that he was, um, and and how he was behaving, to be honest, how he was behaving in that time, I was gonna be alone. Like, I knew that regardless of what he was saying, I knew that. So, um, fast forward to me like those 2 weeks while I was home instead of it being I was home for 3 weeks. The first week was good, then Christmas happened, then the last 2 weeks was not great. I was still enjoying my family, but I was not happy, and all I wanted to do was get back to California to, like, finish it, right? Like, get my stuff from his house, give him his stuff, like, just finish it so that I can start to process, if you will. So, I get back to California, and mind you, the day before I get back, he we're having a conversation and he's like, "I want to come pick you up from the airport." And I'm like, "Why do you want to come pick me up from the airport? Like, you're barely talking to me while I'm here in DC. Why do you want to come pick me up?" And he's like, "Because I want to see you." "You want to see me for what?" Like, I told him, I was like, "If you want to see me for you, like, so you can I don't even know what you wanna do with that, but if you wanna see me for you, don't come get me." Like, all the things that you've been doing, like how you've been moving since Christmas has been selfish. So don't come get me. So that conversation left open-ended. I had no idea whether he was going to come and get me or he wasn't gonna come and get me. Before this point, every time that I would go like, he dropped me off at the airport. And and he dropped me off at the airport before I came to the DMV with, like, a hug, a kiss, and, like, "Can't wait till you get back." So, I was kind of in limbo. I didn't know whether he was actually gonna come and get me or not come and get me when I came back. So I got to the airport. He was not there. It was very real, like, things have changed. I called him when I got out of the airport, and I was like, "Where are you right now?" And he was like, "I'm at Costco." And I was like I was like, "Cool. You're gonna be home? Are you gonna be home in like an hour and a half? Because I'm gonna come by and get my stuff." So he was like, "Yeah, I'll be home by then." So I had gotten my tenant to come and get me from the airport. As soon as I got home, I hopped in the shower, changed my clothes, hopped in my car, and like went there. I was not in the best mental state. I was not like I was trying to get in and out of there as quickly as possible, right? So I knocked on the door, he opens the door. I go in the house. I am not I didn't like bang on the door. I didn't yell or anything like that. I just kind of moved as quickly as I could to get my stuff. Now there was this giant pile of my things at the front of the door, but there were some things that he left in the other places. Now, when I get there, she is also there. I brought his Christmas presents and left them there, and then I got the Christmas presents that she got me and he got me. I got that stuff along with my things and like was taking all of that outside. So I was just silent. I was moving as fast as I could. The house was so different. Like literally I was stepping into um I was literally stepping into, I don't know, not a battlefield, but like a I was stepping into a space where they were a team. And it was a whole new space for me. Like covers were different, like everything. It was just all different than when I left. So I'm trying to get in and out of there without like I was trying to get in and out of there without there being without just like I don't know, seeing too much, right? I mean, I see it all, but like without seeing too much because now the reality is in my face. Like I mean, when I was in the DMV, it was still there, present. I could see it because the way that our communication was. But now, like me being there, like I can physically see the difference. Like this person is no longer my friend anymore. And it's not because I don't want him to be my friend, but that's just the case. Like he's just not, priority has shifted, everything is different, and I can see it. So I am getting in and out of there. And out the corner of my eye, now mind you, I haven't said anything since I've been there. I'm just like moving fast, getting on my stuff. Out of the corner of my eye, she's sitting like partially in my path. So like I have to walk past her every time I like get my things and take it outside or whatever. I see her shake her head. She's like, and I'm like, sis, really? Like really? This could I just could have been silent and been in and out of here. You really gonna do that? So I stopped and I went because she was sitting at this it's like a center aisle. It's an island in the kitchen. So I stopped, went around the table so that I can face her because her back was to me. Went around there so I could face her and I said, "Are you cool with this?" And she was like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "Are you cool with this?" Right? I'm like trying to be not cordial, but I'm like literally because it's the pressing question I do want to ask. Like, sis, you real life plotted on this, and you didn't even have to. Like, he wasn't even my dude. Like, you could have just like y'all could have moved into something naturally. Like, you didn't have to scheme to do it. So, I asked her, "Are you cool with this?" And she was like, she said, "What are you talking about? Say what you mean." And I'm like, bro, why are you testing me right now? So I said, "Are you cool with changing how me and my friend communicate? The fact that he's been absent in our friendship now since you guys have started whatever you've started." And she was like, "Yeah, I'm very cool with it." And I didn't know what to say from that. I mean, I knew what to say, but in the spirit of being respectful or like cordial or like reasonable, I didn't know what to say. I was like, and I looked at him. I looked at him after she said this because I'm like, my beef ain't even with her for real. It's with you, bro. Like, you would have never wanted me to do this to you. Why would you do this? Like, why would you do this like this? Right. So I looked at him and I can't remember what I said to him, but I just gave him the most disgusting look because I couldn't believe it. Like, this was a person I trusted to at least to at least care about me as a friend, care enough about me as a friend to handle a situation like this differently. And I understood that I was not, maybe the way that I trusted him was maybe a way that I shouldn't have trusted him. Um, so that was that for the moment. And I grabbed all my stuff, and I left. So he had things at my house. I asked him, oh yeah, before I left, I asked him like, hey, when are you planning to come and get your stuff from my house? It was like this big jack and like these other things. And he was like, I'll get it sometime this week or next week or whatever. And I was like, can you come get your stuff by like Wednesday? I don't know why you're leaving it there. And he was like I'll see. And I was thinking, no, I said, no. Can you come get your stuff by Wednesday? Like it's no reason for it to be at my house. Can you just grab your stuff? And he was like, all right, I'll get it by Wednesday. So that night I go home and I talk to my sister, and my sister is trying to play devil's advocate, which she always does. And she's like, I don't remember what she told me, but I just remember being in so much pain, like seeing it up front. Like it was a pain I'd never felt before, right? She said something, and so I just called him after that, and I just like apologized for like grabbing my stuff really quickly. And I was just what did I tell him? He was like, we just need to not talk to one another for a while. And I was like, if you do that, like if you say you don't want to talk, like that's it. Like we're not going to be able to be friends. Like I know what's going to happen inside of me. Like that you're going to go to a point where I can't like we just can't be friends. I don't do the no, not I don't talk to my friends and then we could come back and not talk. I don't do that. So I tried to let him know that, and he was like, "No, we just need some time not to talk." And I was like, "Don't okay, if you do that, like that's going to be the decision, right?" So he was like, "No, we just need to be like, have you ever heard of no contact?" And I'm like, "Bruh." He was like, "We just need to do that for a period of time. I'm letting you know if you do that, we're not going to be able to have any type of friendship. I'm telling you that. You're trying to salvage some type of friendship by this space and coming back. That's not what's going to happen here." So anyway, tried to apologize, tried to figure that part out because now I don't know where I fit in his life. He was just like, Nish, I I'm through for the night, right? And this is weird behavior for him. We've always, especially me, like I like to talk things out and like get things settled. Like where do we stand? Like if we're not going to be friends, then we're not going to be friends. If we are going to be friends, then we're working toward that. But let me know where we stand. And he's like this whole he's like conflict avoidant and doesn't really like want to face face things to the finish, if you will, like have the conversation until it's finished. So but that wasn't I wasn't trying to do that. I wasn't trying to leave things open ended. I was trying to like, what are we doing so that I can move accordingly. So anyway, what ended up happening after that conversation, after we got off the phone, because I also disclosed to him, I was very honest. I was like, I'm just trying to make this pain stop. And I don't know how to do that, but I'm trying to do that. And he was very dismissive. So got off the phone, and that week, because I texted him the next day, like, hey, when are you going to come get your stuff? And he just didn't, like, he just stopped responding. Like, just didn't say nothing to me for a whole like 5 days, which is very odd because we were, before all of this, we were talking every day, all day. So being alone in California was really sinking in. Like, I really don't have no friend here. I really don't. And I want to say Saturday, Saturday I had realized, because on a that happened on a Friday or Saturday. So he didn't respond to me all that week. And on Saturday, I remembered that I left my big basket of clothes over there because it was so much stuff that I had in his house. My car was packed that night, and I completely forgot about the clothes, the bunch. Like it wasn't, if it was just a t-shirt or a sweatshirt or something like that, I would have like said whatever about it. It's no use in going over there to get it. But I had a basket of my clothes, and some of the stuff that I wear for like some of the gigs that I do were in that basket. So I was like, all right. He's not answering. I'm just gonna pull up. So I just pulled up and knocked on the door, and I didn't even have to say anything. He said, "Yeah, I know you left your clothes over here. I'll go get them." So he went, got my basket of clothes, and handed it to me, and then he just stood there, and so I just stood there, and then he started talking, and he was just like, "Hmm, I don't even remember what he said." But we had a conversation, I guess, in an attempt to figure out where we're going. And he part of that conversation was he wanted to talk to me about calling him a shitty person because I did. I said that he was a shitty person for how he was going about this. And he wanted me to basically take it back. And he was like, I know you were upset and you just said, something to, because you were upset. And so that I was not impulsively speaking. I honestly did feel that way. I felt like you are a shitty ass person for doing this, for like going about it in the way that you're going about it. And it was hurtful because I knew all of the ways that I considered him and just my casual interactions with men so that he didn't feel uncomfortable. Like times where I was spending a lot of time with like a filmmaking friend of mine who was a guy, he felt some type of way about that. And I remember one day he was like, if you don't come home for dinner tonight, I'm going to be upset because I had filmed something with a filmmaking friend of mine. And that friend, he likes to chat. So I would stay and chat. And usually when we're supposed to like wrap time is 7, we're supposed to be, out of there shortly afterwards. I'm not out of there until like 9 or 10 because we're chatting about either the next project or something else. And so he felt some type of way about that. So when he told me that one time, I was like, okay, got it. I will be home for dinner. I promise. And cool. I respected that. I was home for dinner. And, I just knew that I considered him. Like if it wasn't somebody that I was seriously considering, which I wasn't seriously considering anybody, then I'm going to make sure that I consider him in the things that I do. And even if it was somebody I was seriously considering, I would consider him, of course. So I did feel like he was a shitty person for how he was going about it. And I was not going to take that back. But he wanted to talk about it. So cool. I was like, yeah, we can talk about it. As that week went on, he was like sending me memes and stuff like that, but no real communication. He would like text me in the morning, like, good morning. I just wanted to say, hey. And I say, thank you for that. Hey. And then that was it. No other conversation. So I got tired of like what felt like breadcrumbing. And I told him, like, we need to have that talk that you were talking about, that you said you wanted to have, so that we can figure out where we're going, because I have no idea why you're avoiding the talk that you say you want to have. Also, big thing here. 2024, I want to say July-ish, I had planned to have my birthday in Bali. So me, him, her, my sister, we all got our plane tickets for Bali because they like, he so this would have been his very first time actually being on a trip with me for my birthday, because all the years prior I would go on a trip and it would just be me and my sister, and he would just he would call whatever he would find a flower place in whatever country that I was in, and he would have flowers sent to my hotel. He did it when I was in Italy, did it when I was in Colombia, did it when I was in one other place. I can't remember. But anyway, so this was going to be the first year where he would actually spend my birthday with me, like in person in Bali. And we had started planning that in July of 2024, but then Christmas happened. So my birthday's in February. So I'm also like wondering, how is it going to go, because him and her are supposed to be staying in the same like villa, this big villa that we rented. They're supposed to be staying there. So I didn't know how that was going to go. I did tell him, like, because of it doesn't seem like it's going to be like we're going to have a friendship after my birthday, we're probably going to go our separate ways and not chat. But for my birthday in Bali, we'll have a great time. There'll be no animosity. Like, I can handle that situation. So anyway, go back to this conversation that we were supposed to be having, that he said he wanted to have, that he was avoiding. So we ended up finally having the conversation. We met up. I told him, like, I called him one day and I was like, listen, you have these 2 days to pick from to have this conversation. If we don't have it, then that's it. Like, I'm going to take that as like, you don't want to work toward a friendship or anything like that because you keep talking about you do, but your actions are not matching that. And I'm tired of being in limbo and I'm tired of this breadcrumbing, you sending memes and shit like that. Like, stop it. We need to figure out if we're going to be friends or if we're not, if we're going to be working toward a friendship or whatever, or if we're not. So we sat down and had that conversation. It was like a 2 hour conversation. And I found out in that conversation that he had grown to love me and he wanted something more and I wasn't willing to give it. And with her, like, she's open to it. And so he wants to go all in. And I'm like, okay, cool. It still didn't have to look like this. I don't care what you say. It didn't have to look like this. Like, y'all could have definitely, I didn't stop you. I was never stopping you from being in a relationship if that's what you wanted to do with someone else. As I'm trying to have this conversation with him and figure out what place can we agree upon, me fitting in his life, him fitting in my life. Where is that place? I'm trying to figure that out. So we're talking for 2 hours and then he's like, I have to talk to you tomorrow. And I was like, we figured out nothing here. We chatted in a circle and figured out nothing here. What are you talking about? But this time, instead of trying to have the conversation to its conclusion, I just got up and walked away. And that was that. That was the last time I saw him. Oh, no, no, no. Well, yes, for the most part. That was the last time I saw him in person. We chatted. Well, we didn't really chat too much after that. Like, okay. He told me when we walked away from that conversation that we would have to have another conversation tomorrow to have this conversation to its conclusion. He'd need to wait until tomorrow. All right. I wasn't cool with that. So, like, I got up and because I'm just like frustrated. I'm just like, why in the hell can't we just finish this conversation now? He calls me 2 hours later and he was like, Nish, we can't be friends. And I was like, okay, why do you sound so sad about it? And he was like, because this is sad. Like, I didn't want to, what do you say? Like, I didn't want to have to make this decision. And I was like, okay, but you made it. And I said, thank you for the last 3.5 years. And he said, I'm sorry, Nish. And that was that. And so my birthday trip was 2 weeks or like a week and a half after that conversation. And so I'm still like, you know, I still don't know what Bali is going to look like. And also, I told him on 2 occasions, like the first 4 days of me in Bali, like I'm going to be there. If you don't talk to me when you get there, I'm going to be there by myself because my sister doesn't get there until 4 days afterwards. So I didn't know if he was really going to leave me alone for those 4 days in another country when he's there. Well, I get to Bali and he definitely did. Those first 4 days I spent in Bali by myself and it was terrible. I was in this big ass villa by myself and I know that him and her are there, but they're just like there, but not with me. So it was a very sad first 4 days. But then my sister got there and then the trip was great. So that relationship just ended. And that friends with benefits relationship ended terribly. I mean, I guess not terribly, but just not ideal. And I am a believer in the fact that they don't have to end that way. Like even if I was in, let's say the person who was getting into the relationship, it doesn't have to end like that. You do not have to disregard or hurt the person who you spent so much time with because friends with benefits is way more involved than a booty call. The relationship is different and they should be different. That's why it's called friends with benefits and not booty calls. You're friends with benefits and you don't hurt your friends, or at least you try not to. You try to avoid that. But the reason why I wanted to do this story time was because when I was going through the pain of this, I could not find anything that talked about friends with benefits situations ending and the emotional part of ending those type of relationships. The only thing that I could find that related to it was like full-blown relationships. And when you're in a friends with benefits situation, or like it's ending and you're feeling some type of way, I know for me, I can't speak for everyone, but I went through this period of like, why, not why am I feeling this way, but like, is it even okay to feel this way? Because we were not in a relationship and I didn't want to be in a relationship. I was definitely the one who did not want to be in a relationship. So why am I feeling so much pain? Why do I feel betrayed? Why do I feel these things? Why am I grieving our relationship? Why am I doing that? And you feel a lot like you're not allowed to feel that hurt. And trying to explain it to anyone who is not or hasn't been in a friends with benefits situation and who only understands relationships. Like my sister is a person I go to and talk to about everything. Trying to explain to her my feelings, she's like I mean, yeah, I guess like he was a very important person in your life, but y'all weren't in a relationship. Why do you feel that way? And I'm trying to walk through it myself, and trying to explain it is difficult, but I wanted to tell this story time to say like it is okay to feel that in a friends with benefits situation. You're supposed to feel that if you gave a damn about the person that you called a friend. They're not your partner, like nobody that they're not someone who you wanted to be in a long-term relationship with, possibly. They're not somebody who you were planning out this future with or whatever, but what you were banking on was a certain level of trust, a certain level of honesty, and a friendship. That is what you felt like you did have with this person, a genuine friendship. And when you lose a friend, it's hurtful. So it's okay to feel that pain. It is real pain. This is my first experience with heartbreak. I had no idea like what that was prior. My last relationship was when I was 20 or 21. And the way that we were kind of like on and off, as it fizzled out, like I was cool with it. And I had already found a not that I was actively looking, but just kind of fell into a very healthy friends with benefits situation. So I was like, I didn't feel this heartbreak. I didn't feel this pain. I didn't feel this level of betray and trust. I didn't feel this alone. That's a big part. I did not feel that. And so um it's okay to feel that. Like even if you were the person who was more, I don't want to say emotionally stable, but like definitely more adamant about not wanting a long-term relationship. You do not have to feel like you're not supposed to feel. You don't have to feel like this doesn't hurt. It does freaking hurt. Also, you may act out of character. I'm going to say that. Even if you were the one who was more emotionally stable or more like knew what you wanted and knew what you didn't want, there is a chance that you will act out of character. And I don't mean like for me, I didn't yell and curse this person out, but I was crying, I was sad, I was not emotionally stable. And it was a weird place for me to be because it's not a place that I'm normally in. So that is understandable, and do not feel embarrassed about that. Don't question yourself too much about how you're going about this. As long as you're not going and slashing nobody's tires or doing anything super crazy, understand that you are not going to be yourself right now because you're going through it. I know emotionally I felt very alone because, like I explained before, explaining a friends with benefits situation and how you're connected to that person and what that person meant to you is difficult. Um, it's difficult to make it make sense to people who are not in a friends with benefits situation or haven't been in one. But you're not alone. I I am a living example of like those situations, those relationships are important. They're supposed to be. So the way that you're feeling right now is okay. And you're not alone in that feeling. I felt it. I felt it. I mean, you could tell. I felt it. Um, and be okay with that. Definitely talk to people. I mean, one thing that well, there was a few things that were very helpful through my process. I was leaning on my family or my sister and a few of my friends a lot. And there was one friend in particular that I wasn't like he was a new friend, but he was in a friends with benefits situation and he was the person who knew like he didn't want a relationship, anything like that. The girl who he entered into that friends with benefits situation with, she was open to a relationship. And even though he talked to her and told her, like, that's not what I want, and she said, okay, eventually she wanted that. And he told her, hey, you know, I'm I'm doing me in this situation. Like, we're having a good time, but I'm also having a good time over here, and I'm having a good time over here. So please don't only be locked in here. He told her, like, go out, find another friend, find some other friends, like, have fun. And as he was explaining to me, like, when their relationship changed, he was like, I'll never forget the day I told her that because shortly after I told her that, she found somebody else and entered into a relationship quickly with that person. And he said, I was messed up. He said, I remember going to work and just like randomly while at work, I just started crying. And he was like to her credit, she came over one day and just let me cry it out with her. And at the end of that, she made it very clear that like, I'm happy over here and this is where I'm going. And hearing somebody else who also knew that they did not want a relationship, so they were not like grieving this person, like starting something new with someone else. They were more so just grieving the loss of the friendship, the loss of the relationship, the loss of who that person was to you, made me feel good because it was like, okay, another person went through what I went through. Like feels this, understands this, like logically and rationally, you know, was able to navigate that relationship, but still when it dissolved and especially abruptly, um, they felt this. So I say that to just say there are other people out there who feel that. So it's okay to feel that. You should feel that. Okay. Something else I want to say is what you're probably feeling is grief. I did not know that while I was going through it. But you're probably feeling grief. The loss of the friendship and the loss of who the person that they were to you, the loss of access to that person. You are grieving. So stop trying to fight it with rationale and with logic. Stop doing that. I'm a very logical thinker and I definitely try to like rational my way out of the emotion. Like I tried to think about the fact that he was looking for a relationship and I wasn't, and the fact that she was willing to give that to him and I wasn't. He, the type of person he is. So when he saw that opportunity, instead of like taking the steps toward it, he just jumped. And I know that about him. So I'm like, and also thinking about her, like she got out of her divorce and she just started doing her. And she saw a man that who she's familiar with. She doesn't have to do like the random hookup weird thing. She's familiar with. She's very comfortable. They were very. They had a lot of the same interests. They had a lot of similar interests. So for her, it seemed like, yeah, this is perfect for me to like also handle my divorce from my husband, a person who I was with for 16 years. I understood and I thought about, I was trying to like logically think my way out of what I was feeling. Like, okay, I understand this. I understand why this. I understand why this. I understand why this. It's not going to help. You are still not going to feel good. So have your rationale, have your logic, you know, have your reason, but understand that you're not going to be able to think your way out of this pain. You are going to have to feel and go through it. And I recommend journaling through it. At least that's how what has helped me. I've been like journaling a lot, been writing a lot because it's helping me capture how I'm feeling in that moment so that I can like go back and see, oh, okay, there's this amount of progress in my emotional feeling. And sometimes thoughts are just in the moment. So I was able to capture that in the moment when later on in the day, I'm not feeling that way. I'm not thinking the same things. Another big, big point, you do care and you're supposed to care. Sometimes we may try to tell ourselves, like, I didn't care about that situation. So why am I feeling this way? Like, I don't care. Not that I don't care about the person, right? You know that you care about the person, but like I didn't care about that relationship like that. So I shouldn't be caring like this. But do know that you did care. You did care about the relationship that you had with that person. Not that you cared about, them talking to somebody else, or you cared about where you guys were going in the future, but you did care and value your relationship with that person. And that's okay. Understand that. Don't stop trying to tell yourself you didn't care. Stop trying to fight the fact that you did care. You did. You just did. So I think that's pretty much all I have on that story time. I mean, there's more nuance to it that I could share if you guys want me to, or if there was maybe some emotions or some other things that you feel like I may have missed or that weren't clear enough for you. Definitely let me know. I'm cool to talk about it. I know that there were tears that showed up here, but it wasn't because I was sad. It's just like recalling the feelings of being alone and all that other kind of stuff. But yeah, hopefully this channel, because I'm going to make more videos about friends with benefits and the nuances of friends with benefits. Hopefully this is a resource for people trying to navigate those relationships, because I feel like people could hurt each other less if there were some things they understood about that type of relationship. It is not an open relationship. It is not a booty call. It is a relationship in its own category. And it has its own rules. It has its own just ways of like principles of conduct. It has its own thing. And everyone's rules in their friends with benefits relationships do not look the same. But the fact that rules are established and the fact that it is both parties' responsibility to follow those rules, unless a talk has occurred where you are changing some things, there's a way to navigate, is what I'm getting at, so that people don't get damaged in the process of these relationships. Um, so yeah, that's what I'm hoping to do with this channel. So if you like those kind of videos or you are interested in learning more, keep watching. Bye, guys.